team led by that famous lock forward Johnny Raper comes onto the field in front of the Frank Burke stand. Referee for the match this afternoon is Jack Percival. And the New Zealand team led by James Bond, the 5/8, number 6 for the New Zealanders. The Australian team is Sims at fullback, Rhodes and King on the wings, Greaves and Langlands in the centres, Branson at 5/8, Smith halfback, Raper, lock and captain, Thornett and Coote in the second row, and the front row is Rasmussen, Jones and Wittenberg. New Zealand, captained by James Bond, Elwood the fullback. The wingers are Mincham and Wiggs. Ernie Wiggs, of course, the goal kicker for New Zealand, opposed to Eric Sims, the Australian fullback. Dunn and Schultz in the centres, Bond at 5/8, Clark halfback, Kriletich as the lock forward, Dixon and Lee in the second row, and the front row is Tartner, O'Neill and Smith. Raper behind the scrum, running down the blind side, 20 yards out from the Australian line to Smith, inside to Thornett, the second row for Australia, just over the 25 now with Tartner and Lee, the tacklers, into Smith, Smith to front row, Rasmussen taking it on the burst, but Dixon underneath. 35 yards out from the Australian line, back to Sims, the fullback, right down centre field, over the New Zealand 25, back to the goal post, Elwood, the New Zealand fullback, crosses the 25, following through for the short kick, and nicely gathered Elwood up to the halfway mark, and kicks again, once again following through, Sims trying to get underneath it. The bounce favouring New Zealand for a moment as Coote, the Australian second row, kicks it into touch.
Well, good play on the part of Elwood. He received the ball right back on his own goal line.
And Fulton, the Australian 5/8, sends it back to Sims, standing up close, the Australian fullback, just outside of the Australian 25. Rhodes up in the dummy half position to Raper. Lee, one of the tacklers, 35 yards out from the Australian line to Billy Smith, then to Fulton, out to second row Coote, and he's broken through the tackles again. Coote over the halfway mark, trying terrific speed as usual, over the 25, Coote flying for the corner, trying to beat a tackle and dives, and Coote has scored in the corner. A beautiful try. A 75-yard try to Coote, the first try for Australia, who now take the lead. 9 points to 7 with the kick to come from the touchline. Ted Berenkamp.
Yes, well, a brilliant try by Coote. We've heard a lot about his performances down south. We've heard a lot about his performances in England, and now today we're able to see them, and certainly he has not been overrated. He took the pass in the centre position, standing out in the ruck, after 2 or 3 passes along the back line from Smith, and then on to, I think Raper was in there. We saw Coote cutting in deep behind the defensive forwards of New Zealand and in front of their backs, and cutting diagonally across field to the corner flag. His pace is fantastic. This man's acceleration is out of the ordinary.
And it's waved away, the attempted conversion by Sims. So Australia lead by 9 points to 7. And play has been in progress for 11 minutes in the second half. Certainly a wonderful try from Coote from the Australian 25. The ball being tossed across from Elwood to the New Zealand halfback Clark for the kick-off. Both sides have scored 1 try, 1 to Coote and 1 to Dunn to New Zealand. Kick downfield, the Australian fullback Sims runs it up to the 25 and over the 25, and a great run from Sims. Up to the halfway mark. Here's Smith, back inside to Fulton, and it's Fulton who's caught, not far from the New Zealand 25. Raper very quickly moving it on, up to Thornett. Thornett, then to Greaves, Australian centre. Raper driving the Australian team on, realising that they can take advantage of the situation with Australia on the move onto Fulton. just outside of the New Zealand 25. Raper calling for the ball, but went back to Sims. It looked as if it was going to Raper. Sims, no chance of a field goal to Thornett. Thornett, the Australian hooker, sends it out to Greaves, onto Rhodes on the wing. Brings the crowd to their toes, almost into touch, but got it back to Greaves, onto Rasmussen. Testing the defence now. Greaves, number 3, over the 25, and here goes Greaves. He's veering back to the corner. Sends the pass back inside. The Australian hooker dived over. Jones has scored the second try in a matter of minutes. And Australia go to a lead of 12 points to 7. The scrum 15 yards out from the Australian line, with Australia leading by 16 points to 7. And it's the Australian ball won by Smith. Shot it away to King, racing down the touchline over the halfway mark, but Elwood wraps him up and into touch, 3 yards inside Australian territory. Elwood took him ball and all.
Yes, a very good blind.
Close on 20 minutes of play in the second half, and Australia are leading New Zealand by 16 points to 7. Smith's Clark's ball into the scrum, the New Zealand halfback. There's an Australian ball onto Raper, the Australian lock to Fulton. Very nearly through, 10 yards out from the New Zealand try line, as Raper sends the pass out to Smith, holds it up for a moment, switches play back across to Wittenberg to Rhodes, and Rhodes is over. That's the third Australian try, all in this half. Australia go to a lead of 19 points to 7.
Yes, well, that's Rhodes' first try for Australia, and I'm pretty sure that it won't be his last. He's a brilliant player. He's possibly winded rather severely at the moment, but I've no doubt that he'll be on his feet again very shortly. This fellow is an electrifying type of player. He went to Sydney last year and set Sydney alight with his brilliant running and handling.
Only this season, really, Ted.
That's right, this season.
Played with Brisbane West all of last year. He's only 20 years of age. Australian tries have been scored in the 11th, 13th and 20th minutes. Sims attempting the conversion, 2 or 3 yards in from touch and just outside of the 25. Australia leading 19-7, 20 minutes of play, the second half. There's a kick, a lovely kick from Sims. Up go the flags. And it's 21-7. Elwood kicks downfield. Thornett, the Australian second rower, tackled 10 yards inside Australian territory. Pass on to Rasmussen on the halfway mark. The Australian prop, Elton Rasmussen. Rapers in the dummy half position, then to Smith, to Fulton, out to Greaves, and Greaves sees the gap. Props looking for support and decides to come back this side. Great speed, Greaves. I think he expected to have support there at that moment. Onto Fulton, the Australian 5/8. Only 10 yards out from the New Zealand line. As Fulton plays it back, Raper's up there as usual to Smith. Then to Coote, and Coote gave it away to King when he could have put it down himself, surely. And the Australian winger King has scored Australia's 4th try, and they made it look so easy on that occasion.
Yes, it's starting to come easy now, and the New Zealand defence is completely shot and riddled. There doesn't seem to be any organised defence out there. It's a matter of making the first break. Australian defence is not taking any credit away from the Australian defence. It's very, very good, but I do feel it's made to look a lot better than possibly it could be.
Now, that's the 4th Australian try in 11 minutes in the second half. Australia 24, New Zealand 7, as Sims attempts this kick from once again out on the touchline. And it's on the other side of the field this time, in front of the Frank Burke stand. Capacity of 10,000, just on 10,000 on the western side of the ground. It's falling short and now it's there. Thought just skimmed across the bar. This angle, it looked as if it was just a fraction short, but Sims made it again, and it's 26-7. It was Langlands. New Zealand's Tartner, lob to Tate, gathers it this time. Tate, very slow passing across to Clark, back inside then to Krilitic, the lock, onto Clark. Here's a chance for New Zealand to score as it comes onto Wiggs, but it's Australian ball. Greaves, the Australian centre, into touch, centre field. Smith's ball in. It's a New Zealand ball from the scrum as Clark sends it to Schultz, the inside centre. Lee kicks across on the terraced side. Sims following it through. The Australian fullback beats Dunn, but is picked up by Wiggs, number 5, the left winger for New Zealand. Rhodes sends his pass back to Greaves. Once again, Wiggs moves in for the tackle with support from Smith, the prop. This is Smith, the Australian halfback. Wittenberg sees the gap, and away goes Big John up to the halfway mark, showing surprising speed. Sends it on to Fulton, the Australian 5'8". King's waiting for the pass. Fulton tosses it across, and King will score. And that looked so easy. I thought Fulton was going in himself then, Ted.
Yes, it looked very much as though he was. The man that he was trying to swing away from his winger came in to cover Fulton. Fulton saw what was happening and threw an overhanded basketball pass to the unmarked King to go to touchdown.
That's King's second try. Wearing number 1 for New Zealand, replaced Bond in the first half. Kicks off. Rasmussen over the halfway mark. The Australian forwards being allowed to run at will in this last 5 minutes or so. Wittenberg's up behind by a yard or so as the second kick is taken on to halfback Clark, into Tate. Tate to Smith, the front row forward, wearing number 10 jersey. And Wittenberg, who's been doing a lot of heavy tackling in this match today, was one of the tacklers. Lobbed out to Wiggs on the wing, the left winger for New Zealand. A lovely tackle from Sims, got right underneath him, 10 yards out from the corner. The scoreboard in the condition it is. And Elwood finds touch about 5 yards out from the Australian line. The second kick to New Zealand as it comes onto Krilitic and then to the halfback Clark. Second rower, or rather prop Smith. Pulled down a couple of yards out by Raper. Schultz up a dummy half, tries to dive over, and he's just about over. Can he get the ball down? The New Zealand centre, Schultz.
It's a try.
A try to Schultz. Australian player underneath him. He had difficulty in getting the ball down, Schultz, but eventually he did so. And that's the second try to New Zealand. Previous one was scored by Dunn in the 11th minute of the first half. Australia 31, New Zealand 10. Places the ball, and it's Langlands who kicks well downfield. Elwood runs it up and follows it through with the kick. King couldn't hold that one, gathered by New Zealand halfback Clark, spinning around in the tackle to Tate. Tate to Schultz. Over the halfway mark goes Schultz. There's some nice attack from New Zealand. Out to Dunn in the centres. And gathered by Wiggs as it came back. Still play on. Here's a chance for New Zealand. Tate, rather Clark, dodging and weaving, the halfback. And New Zealand has swept play right upfield to within 10 yards of the Australian line. Locke sends it across to Tate. Tate to Lee, the second row forward, who got it on to Dixon. Back to Lee again, and Lee running strongly. He's just about scoring. Lee, and it's lost then as Dunn had appeared to be tried to take the ball.
And King came across and
tries. King has scored 2. Coote, Jones and Rhodes, 1 each. A New Zealand ball as Dunn tries to pick it up. No knock on. Dunn to play it back for New Zealand. Out to Elwood as the fullback. It's the Australian ball with King trying to pick it up. The Australian winger as the full-time hooter sounds. And It's all over. Australia have defeated New Zealand by 31 points to 12, scoring 5 tries to 2. Australian tries, King 2, Coote, Jones and Rhodes 1 each. New Zealand tries by Dunn and Schultz. Australian goals, Sims kicked 4 conversions, 2 penalty goals and 2 field goals for a personal tally of 16. And for New Zealand, Wiggs kicked a conversion and 2 penalty goals. The penalties were awarded to